right, guys. So, welcome back to another episode on Inherent Success Podcast, where this is your guide to self discovery. We talk a little bit about everything. We talk about business, health, wellness, relationships, all of the above. And today I have my very good friend that I've known for years, my good friend Juan Garay. So, Juan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, welcome. So, guys, just to give like a little background of our relationship, our friendship. Juan and I, we used to be in a multi-level marketing company together. We used to work out of a nutrition club back in Homestead. We used to do all these crazy workouts.
All right, I gotta get back
um,
to it.
yeah, yeah. Juan was one of those like those high performance men, like those I don't even know, those people that did like calisthenics that like you would do like all these crazy workouts and I'll be like, oh my God. I remember he would make me go outside and like record him jumping on I actually want to put like a clip on here, honestly. Like of him,
That-
I gotta look for those videos. He's literally like jumping wall like on like the highest blocks and just like doing all these it was very cool. Very impressive, that's for sure.
I appreciate that. No, now I'm feeling the pain. After 30s, I see what's
Yeah.
happening to my body right now. I'm like, you know what? I kind of regret doing all that.
Yeah, no, all that catches up to you for sure.
Does.
So welcome, Juan. Inherent success, we focus a lot on transformational stories. So let's take it way back to little Juan. And if you can just share a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where were you born, how long you've lived in Miami, and just a little bit about you growing up as a kid.
No, for sure. I would love that. Now let's take it back, right? So I was born in Miami, raised in Homestead. It's about like 40 minutes from, I guess, like downtown Miami. Grew up in a family of, yeah, my mom and my dad. But growing up around like seven, when I was seven, my mom left me and my dad. So basically, I had to grow up with my dad from that age. And I believe that was one, like a huge, I guess, like turning point for my life, right? Because not many people hear that, right? They always hear about their father leaving the picture, but not mainly like your mom leaving. So to me, it was just like, what's going on here? Why is my mom leaving? And it was just a confusing point, but a growing point for me, right? Because I had to know like a lot of things at a young age. And what I can tell you is like even washing my own clothes, it sounds funny, but I promise you, I messed up so many times. I put Clorox and color clothes. It was just mistake after mistake, but I had to learn these things like very young, you know? But I didn't understand what was happening. My mom was leaving my dad. I felt like she was abandoning me. And I didn't understand that. To me, it was just like, I had so much like not just hurt feelings, but like hateful. Like I was really hateful for my mom. Like I was like, what? Why are you doing this and that? And then growing up, I had to grow up with my dad. But then it's crazy. Even to this day, like my dad says that I pretty much grew up by myself because he had to work from 5 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, go into another job at 6, get out 11 to 12 at night. So basically, he was at work every single day, didn't have no day off pretty much. So I had to see that, right? And to me, like that brought me a big like that was a big like impact in my life because I see my dad just work endlessly, but didn't have time to enjoy not just time with me, but with his kids or family, things like that. Just but he did all he can, right? And I'm so grateful for what he did because he showed me a lot, and I'm forever grateful for him. I'm forever grateful for the fact that he pretty much worked his entire life not just to provide, but provide for the house. He showed me how to be a man and to own up to everything, right? Because when my mom left, he's like, "Don't worry about it. We're gonna keep going." And he took that into effect right in my life. So growing up, basically, from that, pretty much all of that, growing up, I started going into like eating a lot. So I got really overweight. I was weighing about, I think it was like 200 pounds. I don't know. I was wearing like 2X large, like shirts, 36 in pants, very low confident, just mad at life and just eating my life away. And my mom came back in the picture. She's like, hey, I'm here. I was like, I'm not. But I end up, of course, forgiving her. To this day, we talk, almost almost every day. I love her no matter what. It took a lot for me to forgive her, but it was a growing point again for me. So going back to being overweight, I just took another step in my life, like knowing that health is everything. Herbalife was actually introduced to me at that point, but I said no to it. And years later, it just came back into my life again. So yeah, I'm like going like every little step of my life, but to fast forward, I mean, after high school, I went to Miami-Dade College, and after that, I went to FIU for business. Graduated with my bachelor's degree and dual degree in international marketing. I'm sorry, international business and marketing. I have a dual degree in that, and and then life hits, right? You become an adult just like that, right? Um, I always had that entrepreneurial mindset. I always had big visions in my life. I always understood like, man, there's so much more to just working a job. I was like, I want to do big things. I want to leave something behind. And I knew business for me was always it. And that's where Herbalife was introduced to me again. And I was like, you know what? There's a reason why I gave it a shot. And ever since then, I started doing it. It's just, I learned more about personal development, I was working in retail. I was an after school teacher too. And it never clicked to me until one time, why is it that I was pursuing like entrepreneurship? Like it didn't like instill I guess like in my life until it really happened to me. And what like turning point for me was when, basically my manager told me, "Hey, come to the back," right? And I'm never gonna forget this. And this is where I guess like the turning point was for me about owning my time and being an entrepreneur. Was she came to the well, she's like, "Hey, come to the back," and I was like super happy because I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna get a raise. And then I'm never gonna forget this. This was around 2012 or 2013. And then she looks at me and she was like, "Hey, um, I got you a raise," and I was like, "What? All right, cool, here we go." And she looked at me. She's like, "I got you 25 cents." And then when she told me that, I was just like,
Mm.
wait, what? And then she's like, well, you're not happy? I was like, yeah, I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, I was expecting a little bit more, It's like, I've done so much. And it's like, for you to just like, I guess, give me this, I was just like, I was expecting more, right? But the reason why I was expecting more is because I knew the value that I brought and that it ties in with the self-development that I had. Like I tied all that in. And it's not just to say that I wasn't grateful because I was super grateful. I told her and she said that was the best she can do. And obviously I can't do nothing. I just accepted it and I kept going. So yeah, that's pretty much where I end up where when it comes to retail. And then yeah, that's a lot of my story right there. I don't know. I can keep going.
Well, yeah, no, it's okay. We can stop there because I kind of want to go back to, growing up because growing up, our childhood is the most crucial times of our lives. And that is our programming. That's how we start, cultivating these beliefs about ourselves. And it all comes down to like your environment and how you grew up and whether you were loved by your parents or not. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because, I basically had to, me and my siblings, we basically had to raise ourselves. And although my parents did the best that they could with what they had and what they knew at the time, it really affected us. And especially me, at least my experience, it was growing up, it was just like I felt like I was just not heard and I wasn't seen and I wasn't loved. So, as you go into your adolescence, as like you become a teenager and all that stuff, a lot of people have different like coping mechanisms. So whether
Right.
that's like doing things that's escaping from your reality, in this case, you mentioned that you relied on food a lot, and then it caused you to become overweight. Now, my question to like go back into that time, when your mother left you, and your dad. and your dad was always working a lot and you barely had him around. So how did you feel as a kid growing up? Did you like what was going through your mind? Like, did you realize, okay, like I have to do things on my own now? Because that's a really tough decision to make. Like a lot of kids just kind of like run away or they get into bad things, and like I said, different coping mechanisms. So like, how was that experience for you? Um, yeah, like at that time, like, did you feel like I have to do things by myself?
Yeah, I mean, it was a growing point. I mean, I just felt like being, acting like I was the victim didn't help. Like pretty much telling myself, like, you know what, I can sit here just cry, or can I just change what I'm doing every day, you know? Um, I don't know. I'm trying to remember it so much, like up that point of time, right? I knew there was choices I had to make, as like I can either go the bad route or the good route. And it's crazy because I was the guy or the kid. I was a kid that got along with everyone. Like it's crazy. Like yeah, you had like even I guess the gangs and all that. Like I always got along with everyone. Whoever it was, I always got along with for some reason, right? So and it's crazy to me because like I had an easy choice to either not easy, but I would say a choice to make whether the bad or good. And to me, I always been like in the middle because I was like, you know what? I don't know whether to go to the bad because obviously there's consequences, getting suspended, going, the bad route and end up in prison or dead, right? And especially where I grew up, I mean, back then it was really, really bad. It wasn't like the safe place to grow up. And I had a couple of friends that ended up in prison for about 10, 15 years. And I'm telling you this because like I knew if I stuck around there, I'm sure I would have been in that route too, right? And to me, it was like, you know what? I want a better future. I always saw myself like, you know what? Doing something big for my father. It's like that's my right hand man. So that's what pushed me to really endeavor like good stuff, right? To really pursue the good route and really go the route to do better things in life. And I actually got into this program. It's called, and actually in high school, it's called Police Explorers. And that's where a lot of like my community service hours and really being passionate of serving people and helping people really came in. And I got an award, like a president award for doing like thousands of community service hours. So it really pushed me to go that route even more. But yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's amazing. Yeah, it's interesting. You think about like what you said, do I go this route or do I go that route? And like, for example, like for me, I went the bad route. I just wanted to gain attention. Like I wanted people to see me. So growing up, like, me and my sister, I like up to like 12 years old, like once I turned 12 years old and I was going to seventh grade, I started hanging out with the cool kids and like doing all these bad things. And like I kind of wanted to also hide myself because I was in band, I was a cheerleader.
Hey, me too.
And yeah, I was in band and a cheerleader, and I had a little flute, and I was like walking around school with like my pom poms and like my little flute, and I was embarrassed. I wanted to hide it because I wanted to be part of the cool kids. Because I thought
Of
in
course.
my mind that being successful and doing all these things, not successful, but like doing great things in the school and contributing to the school, I thought that that wasn't cool. It's very interesting,
Yeah.
so I loved how you said that, like go the bad route or the good route, but that's awesome that you went the good route, because at the end of the day we all have a power of choice, and we don't really discover that until we're a lot older. But as much energy as you get to put into something negative, it's the same amount of energy that you can put into something positive. So you have that power to choose what route you want to go on. Now, as far as you said you were eating a lot and you were overweight. When did you initially start your fitness journey and like you getting into like working out and eating healthy and taking care of yourself? And how did that impact your life moving forward from there?
Yeah, it was actually eighth grade. I'm never gonna forget. It was like eighth grade going into high school. Um, if I wish I could remember what was it that clicked that made me change. Oh, you know what it was? It was this is I remember getting denied, like, oh, how you say it, like turned down from a girl. 'Cause I remember I was like, oh, let me talk to this chick. I was like, let me see if I don't know if it was because at that time you didn't like ask. Oh, you know what? Yeah, about going on dates. Because I remember uh like it was a thing to go like on a I don't know, go and watch the movie or something. Even in eighth grade, I don't know. I remember my uncle took me to my first date. I was in eighth grade. But going back to the whole thing, I approached a girl, and then I remember her saying like, "Oh, you're fat," you know, you're not my type. I'm like, okay. So then that was like, yeah, I was like, you know what? Let me get more confident and not really care on what people see me as, right? And
Mhm.
then shit, that was just like the turning point for my confidence. Because eighth to ninth grade, I'm never gonna forget going to high school. Everyone didn't know, like, they didn't like recognize me. They didn't recognize me, and they're like, "Yo, like, who's this? Hey, what's up, man? You lost a lot of weight." I lost about like 30, 40, like 30 pounds or something like that, like within that summer.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a great change for me. And going into high school, I was more confident. And really what I was seeking for, was more confident in myself and more believing in myself. And high school was, all the years was really amazing. Going to from middle school to high school was a lot of that, of building confidence and gaining that, and that's what's pretty much pushed me towards that. So from, I guess, like the trauma from my whole mom thing, it just led me to becoming who I am today, and I'm forever grateful for everything that played out how it did.
Yes, 100%. And what would be, I guess, staying on the confidence topic, like what would be your advice for young men out there? Because, especially this generation, um, there's a lot of screen time. And,
Right.
especially kids too, like they don't want to go outside and they don't want to play. Or even like young kids, like in high school and even going into college, like what would be your advice as far as like building confidence and being a competent person, honestly.
Honestly, what helps me is to focus on becoming better. And I say this because if you focus on, let's say, anything else than yourself, then you're just comparing yourself the whole time. But if you're focusing on becoming better at any pick point in your life, like even it could be just the way you dress, the way you speak, the way you every little thing about you, that's how you start building that confidence. And I've learned that about myself, because once I stop like comparing myself, like, you know what, I am who I am, and just continue building that just, and knowing that I'm unique, like everyone's unique in this world. God created everyone different. And just knowing that and really believing that, that's what helps me. So if I can tell anyone like, hey, how can you build that confidence? I would say focus on what could you get better, right? Or I can get better at speaking. Perfect. Start speaking to other people, start talking, having conversations. And the better you get, the more confident you are. And it's just like that in sales. And, I tell that to everyone. The more you know, the more you're going to grow, and the more better you're going to seem to any client, because they're like, you know what? This guy's confident what he's speaking about. He really believes what he's talking, obviously. So that's how, little by little, you start growing into confidence.
Yeah, and it's not only just like, okay, I'm being like confident, I'm like cocky and ego, like it has nothing to do with that for those of you guys that are listening. It's more so like, okay, what are the areas in my life that I can improve on? Okay, my physical health, all right, check. My mental health, check.
Mhm.
How do I carry myself? Check. Okay, what are my goals? What are the goals that I want to achieve in my life, right? How do I want to make money? Like, what does success look like to me? So that's being like a very competent person. And that's awesome that you said that. It's because that's what it comes down to, just being the best, a better version of yourself. And even for women too, it's like building confidence comes down to just like ultimately working on yourself all the time. And working on yourself is a lifetime project. It's not like, okay, I got here and this is the end. No, it's just constantly growing your mindset. Okay, how can I get better? What can I do to hit my fitness goals? Because ultimately, working out, it does improve your mental health. And as you're taking care of yourself and you're eating healthy, you have more energy, like you just feel good overall and you're able to do all the other things in your life too.
I agree.
So
I
yeah.
agree. I agree. And
Yeah.
it goes back to like I'm a big believer that your personal life reflects a lot in your business life. So even in your career life,
Yeah.
like if your personal life is not good, your business, your work life is not going to be good because your personal life is not good. But once you have that good, everything else just flows with it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And that also comes down to having a strong mindset too, you know? And it's like I always it's like all the external things don't matter is what you have inside here. It's how you think about yourself, like how you see life, your perspective. And I always say this funny thing, it's like you can buy a Lamborghini, but you can still be the asshole driving a Lamborghini.
Right?
It's so
That's true.
true. It's like, okay, you want
Yeah,
nice
I don't want to
things,
be
you
the
want
asshole,
money.
so
Yeah. It's like you want all these nice things in life, but it's like, you know how we used to say it in Herbalife. It's like your mindset needs to match your check. You can't have your check up here and your mindset all the way down here.
yeah, I
So
agree.
I love that. So I love that. So now getting out of high school and like going into college and like getting into work and jobs and things like that. Let's bring it back to that time where, they said you got a 25-cent raise.
Yeah,
So
25 cents.
yeah, yeah. So with that time, when did you, I know you mentioned that was like your pivotal moment. So when did you start your entrepreneur journey as like going into, starting your own business or like I know we did Herbalife together. And by the way, guys, Herbalife, for those of you guys who don't know what that is, it's a network marketing company. It is a multi-level marketing company, which they sell supplementations. So you become a distributor, you sell their products, and you teach other people to do the same thing. That's basically what Herbalife is. So to take us back into that journey from the time that you were like, okay, I'm worth more than 25 cents.
Yeah, so that's actually where I guess the bad route came in. And I say that because I got into the night scene a lot, like the nightlife. I was a club promoter. And I forgot to say this, but like in middle school, I was a guy selling candy. I would sell my gum pieces for 25 cents. I was that guy in class. And then I'll get in trouble when the teacher finds out somebody had gum because of me selling. So that started with that in middle school. But going back to, I guess after like college, right? I got into like the nightlife scene and I understood a lot about marketing. That's why I started learning about marketing, connecting, not just marketing, but networking. And I started learning on how a lot of times it's not what you know, is who you know. Got you in, it brought you people, it made you a lot more money because you knew a lot of people, things like that, right? And promoting, I got X amount one night for just having fun with my friends. And I was just like, what? If I can do this, I can keep doing this, And it just became a whole thing when it came to about marketing and entrepreneurship and owning my time and money, right? But the question was, right, you said that where was my starting point when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Yes.
So, well, I was 20, 21, and that's where Herbalife came into my life. It was introduced to me again. And, I started listening to a lot of personal development. Jim Rohn is someone that I listen to every single day, no matter what, till this day. Profit over wages. It just became really instilled in my heart and my mind. Because a lot of people, it's funny because even at work, people say that I will complain, and it's not complaining. Like when I wanted a day off, I feel like I deserved it, and I feel like we all do deserve it. When you want a day off, or you want to go use a restroom, or you whatever it is that you want to do, like you should have the right for that, right? A time and a place for that. But I'm never gonna forget because like, at work though, I would say, "Oh, you're complaining because you're working here." I was like, well, when I work, I work. I give my 100%. But I just didn't find fair that certain times I'm like, man, like you expect me to give X amount so much, but you're not meeting me anywhere. I felt like I wasn't valued. But going back to that, I mean, I started doing Herbalife, and that's where and I went full on in. I was like, you know what? I love the opportunity to help people, not just in fitness, but building their mindset because I'm a big believer the way you work out too is defines who you are too. Because if you're half-assing your workouts, then you're half-assing in life, you know, um, and I took that with me. And that's where a lot of my entrepreneurship like mindset came in. You know, I did it for 10 years, forever grateful, never say anything bad because Herbalife completely changed my life and it molded me to the person I am today when it comes to business, you know. And in 2018, I actually started serving, you know, as a part-time. You know, that was another turning point in my life. You know, I went through, I guess, like a broken and broke phase, I guess you can call it. Um, yeah, I was broken spiritually and also like broken financially, and that was a huge turning point for me. I don't know if you want me to go deep into that. I mean, that's yeah, okay. So
So to kind of like touch on the working subject. So I loved how you said that you're grateful for Herbalife because it's taught you a lot. And I agree with you. I feel like every job teaches you something. It's important
definitely,
to work all types of jobs. Like what you said with your club promoting, you learned the skill of networking and like connecting with people and like promoting and all that stuff. That's a skill right there. So don't be afraid to try different things because your journey to success, you're going to go through different avenues and you're going to learn different skills. And what I'm the most grateful about Herbalife is that it really builds tough skin. Like it was my school of entrepreneurship. It was my college. Let's put it that way.
I agree.
My
No, I agree with you.
university.
Yes, yeah, you said it better. You said it so much better. Yes, that's exactly what.
It
All
was
I
my
said was
entrepreneur.
exactly what you just said right now. So it's perfect. Yes, exactly. Entrepreneurship
Yeah.
university. Perfect.
Yeah, literally, because I don't know when you started, but like I started back in 2013 and that was like old
That's the same year
school,
I started.
It's like yeah, yeah, so you know the drill. Like and I
Yeah.
definitely want you to elaborate more on that and that how those skills like correlates now with what you're doing, right? Because um and life is like I said, it's important to master different skills because you get to use all these skills into different areas of your life, especially if you're starting a business. All right, guys, we'll get right back into the episode. I just wanted to take a quick break here to share with you guys that I do not make any money on this podcast. My goal and my purpose with Inherent Success is to be that guide for individuals in their self-discovery journey. So if you found any value in this episode, make sure to like, to subscribe, and if you know anyone that could benefit from the episode or the podcast overall, you can share with a friend as well. Now, let's get back into it. So, with the Herbalife journey, like take us a little bit through that. Like, how did it start? Was it like a big high or like was it a low? Like, how did you start, and how did that play out for you?
I mean, for me, it didn't start like fast. It was very slow, but very big on vision. Like I was the guy that was like, yeah, I'm gonna hit this milestone at this point, and it was just a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, a lot of passion behind it. But my, but it's crazy because it goes back to like the level of your mindset, right? My mindset wasn't where it had to be in order for me to grow, but I was around a lot of people that had that vision, right? And were there where I wanted to be. So that's what kept that fire going, you know? Um, but at the beginning, it was just a lot of that. Like, it was just a lot of like, you know what? If they can do it, why not me? That was just the whole point that I was at. Like, I was just like, I know I can do this. I know I will do this. And I was doing whatever it took. And I had that mindset, like waking up at 5 a.m., having that workout right in the morning, you know, having that winter mindset and, you know, creating and that molded a lot in my life and to this day. And even like passing off flyers, going, you know, face to face with people, getting no's, getting cursed at, you know, it just really built the character who I am today. Because even looking it back, I remember getting kicked out of the mall, like when I was like passing out flyers, and it's like to me it was normal. It's okay. So that's why to this day, like if someone tells me no, I don't take it personal. Someone curses at me or saying, "Hey, why you're doing this," I don't take it personal. I just keep it going. And that's what I feel like a lot of people are lacking
Mm,
is that they didn't go through things like that. They didn't have those mistakes. And I've done many, many mistakes. That's one thing that I could tell you is that the 10 years, the 12 years where I'm at right now, it's like I've done so many mistakes that I've learned from and grew from that I understand why I went through that. And I'm not going through it again because I went through it already. But it was a very slow space. I mean, yeah, I guess pace. My growing phase when it comes to Herbalife, it wasn't really fast. But again, I mean, I was grateful because I knew there was a lot of potential. I had people around me supporting me, and it took for that one person, which I'm actually going to his wedding next month, that believed in me. Like he was like, you know what? He became my first supervisor. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this full throughout. And it was just like a beautiful experience that we talk about to this day. We're like, man, you remember when we used to run at 4 a.m. and just talk about our visions, talk about life. And I'm just like, yeah, bro, like it's still possible. That's the thing is that that's the thing that's so beautiful about life. Like, you don't stop living, until you stop living, right? And I feel like every day we have new opportunities. We get to live this thing that we call life every single day, and we're able to create things, right? But yeah, that's pretty much where I was at when it came to the Herbalife, like the starting point, my starting phases when it came to that. Yeah.
I love that. That's so true. Yeah, I always say if you're not growing, you're basically dying. I got that from Tony Robbins. It feels like you're dying. It's so true. And I did learn that a lot in Herbalife. It's just like keeping the vision alive, just vision and vision, your why, having your why, and like really working towards that. And even though, like, all of the, like, everything that I've learned in, being in that company, being a distributor, and just like working really hard and building my business and doing, passing out the flyers, all these things, the same thing like you, it's that it really did build character, and those are still the same things and the same mindset that I implement today. Obviously, I'm not passing out flyers, but it's just that grit, like just having that grit and that
Great.
mindset,
Yeah.
and just like not taking no so seriously and not taking things too serious. It's like you become so equipped when you go through so many freaking failures. You become equipped for anything that comes your way in life. It's like, oh, this is going on. All right, I got this. Like, whatever. Like, I've been through worse and I'm able to overcome this too. And what it's worth, even if it didn't work out for you, I think in life, like, it's always worth trying, because
I,
you miss out by not trying at all. That's failure. Living a life of not taking risks, living a life of not doing things that are worth it, not putting yourself out there, just like staying in a box and staying safe, and just like
I agree.
for security and safety. It's like you'll never know what your truest potential is, or like you'll never be able to tap into your truest potential if you just don't go for it, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, that's beautiful. So with going into Herbalife, so now you're in there, you're in the trenches, you're working really hard and building your business. And like I said, like everyone goes through different avenues when it comes to success, and then they'll realize like, okay, maybe this is not for me. I'm meant for something else. So when did you, I guess we can get to like the 2018, like when did you start realizing that this is not your path, you're meant to do something else? That pivotal moment for you.
Pivotal. There's been so many in my life. I'm just like, oh, all right. But 2018, that was man, that was an amazing year. And I say that just because I'm grateful that I went through it, and I think that every person that has grown in their life has to go through things, right? But that point was, yeah, was being having a well, being broken financially and spiritually. Um, and that's where like it wasn't like, things weren't working out in my favor. Like I remember, missing a milestone in Herbalife, and that like really like I was so disappointed. But I was like, okay, cool. I'll just keep it going. I still have that mindset. Like, no matter what, I'll keep going. I'll keep going. But when I was in that 2018 being broken and broken financially and spiritually, it had me thinking different, right? I was just like, I have to do something. And that's where I ended up getting because I was full on in entrepreneurship. Again, not to take away from anyone that does it and goes all in. Like, it can work for you. It can, and some people, it will work for them and some won't. That's my opinion. That's what I believe. But then I was like, you know what? It didn't work out for me. So I went and I got a part-time job as a server. And I, and also during that time, getting a job as a server, I started going to church. And my faith just grew. Like, when I tell you is that I'm never gonna forget. I was just when I was in that point. I remember calling one of my friends. Actually, that's Herbalife, and I was like on my knees, just crying. And I was like crying. I was like, "Yo, I can't talk. Like, I just need you to pray for me. Like, I just need you to pray for me." He just started praying, and I was just like talking to God. I was like, I just want everything, all of this to go away. I just don't know how I got to this point. You know, I had a new car, like a new truck at that point. I was a Colorado. And I remember I didn't have even a dime to like put gas in my car. And I'm like, yo, how did I get to this point, you know? And it was just hard for me because I was just like, you know what? Um, I don't know how I can get to this. It's like you ever, look back in your life, you're like, you did everything. I went to school, I did all this and how. So I was like mad I got to. But going back to, starting to church, I was like, God, I'm gonna give you 1 year of my life. I remember doing that promise with God. I was like, God, I'm gonna give you 1 year of my life. Let's see where you take me. I started, working on my dad. Uh, got out of that, like doing a snowball effect. I think it's called snowball effect with Dave Ramsey. Changed everything for me. So I started doing that,
I've
going
never
in
heard of
church.
that.
No, snowball effect. That's amazing.
With
So you work with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey. Um, so
uh-huh.
pretty much, so pretty much you work on your higher debt. Like, I started working my student loan debt and then working your way down. I'm sorry, no, you work on your small debt and then you work your bigger debt later. So let's say
Mm,
you owe $200, you pay that off, and then you get that winning mindset, like not mindset, but like winning feeling. So it just becomes addictive and you keep working faster to get out of debt. And that was amazing. So if anyone wants
I
to do that,
love
definitely do
that.
it. It's incredible. And I
I
got
love
out of
that.
student, yeah, I got out of my student loan debt that year. Started serving at church. I remember going to church every single Sunday, and I got baptized. And it was just something of like, I guess my season, that season of my life was about letting go and letting God. That was like the season of my life. Um, and I started serving at church. And every day I was like from 6 in the morning to like 3 afternoon, and I would go to work at 5. It sounded like my dad, like from work, but I was like serving at church and going into work, and it was just a learning experience, man. It was just like looking back, like I'm forever grateful for that because I grew just spiritually, financially. I started saving money. I started learning more about how to do that, how to invest my money, being more professional in what I do. But the biggest thing, what I can tell you is that that season of my life, what I understood more was that God had me in a position in my life, not just to serve people for work, but to serve Him. And
Mm,
I didn't understand that until a year later. I was like, okay, what am I doing now? Like, why I'm here a year later serving, and I knew how to serve people, and now I know how to serve Him. So I went on a mission trip to DR, Dominican Republic, and I went with elders. Like, I was the youngest one. Everyone else was like 50 plus, or I don't know, I forgot how old. They're older, right? But I was the only one that knew how to like work cameras, and I was there to do that, to be behind the lens and really record everything, take pictures of what we're doing because we fed over 200 people. We were building a
wow.
church and all that. It was a beautiful experience. Just knowing that we were there to give other people hope, and that's Christ, Jesus Christ. And I'm a big believer in that. And that's where faith became my foundation. Um, so on that mission trip, I'm never gonna forget because I remember like being on one of those. Well, I was gonna behind a truck and I was with an elder, and he's like, we were just talking. I remember like just like it was bumpy roads. He's like, hey man, so what is it you do? I was like, yo, I'm a server, and he's like, oh cool. He's like, what? Why do you do real estate? I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to do real estate, and I'm
He
like, I
just said that
always
randomly.
randomly. He's like, you should get into real estate. And I was just like, ah, all right. So everything just played out. Like it just played out perfect. What I can tell you is that it was God's time. It was God's time. 2019, got to 2019, started working on getting my license that year. And then 20 2019, yeah. So 2019, end of 2019, like December, I started doing my tests. I failed like three times, and then my fourth time was when I passed in January 2020, and that's where my real estate career just started. I was just like, but then life, telling you, it's just everything just happens for a reason. I got into a huge car accident. The truck that I told you that I had a brand new truck, Colorado, went away. It just got into a total
Mm.
loss. I had a hernia disc on my neck, and I was just back at being mad at God. Like I was, God, like why me? Like why me? Like what's up? Like I just started. I'm going to push a new career. I'm doing this. I'm doing everything good, and why me, right? And I didn't understand. I'm telling you, when you go through things, like I always now, even now, like when I go through things, I'm like, what is God teaching me? What's gonna happen? And I'm excited to know and excited to grow and excited to learn. Because I always tell myself now, like that I've gone through so much, and I'm sure other people have gone through so much in their life. They're just like, here we go again. But at that point, it's crazy to me even thinking about it, right? 2020, I had the whole car payment. I had a job, server. Remember, I was still a server. I got laid off because of COVID. COVID just started. So my car was gone. My car payment was gone. And I was like, I was jobless, and now I have my license in real estate. So I was like, all right, God, I see what you're doing. So, I end up getting cash back from my car, buying a car cash, and that's how my real estate career started. And I always wanted to do real estate ever since high school, but I always thought that it was for more privileged people for some reason. In high school, I remember, like, I guess the really popular kids, they were like, oh yeah, my mom owns a brokerage and all this and that. I was just like, yeah, I didn't see Latinos doing it. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't Latinos doing it. I was just like, it's not for me. But I kind of really want to do it. And, I got into it and everything just started lining up. I met one of my close friends. Her name is Nali Sabasa. She was in real estate. She showed me the ropes. She was a mentor in the beginning, and I was just shadowing any bit that I can get on anyone. I was like, hey, let me go shadow you doing this. And that's where 2020 I started, and I thought I wasn't gonna sell no houses. I was like, it's COVID. Like, who's gonna buy a house? Like, and I'm like, I got into this the wrong timing. Like, I was like, there's no way there's people gonna buy houses. And the rate was at that point like at 2 point something 9% with her. And I closed my first deal in April. It was $440,000. It was a person that I was helping out of state. I was FaceTiming them, build a relationship with
Wow.
them. Lizardo and Alma, they're amazing people, Puerto Ricans. To this day, we still have that great relationship. And I remember helping them, and I'm never gonna forget them too, because they asked me, they're like, so how long you been doing this? I was like, yeah, me and my team, because they train you, right? Because they train you to say certain things in certain ways so you don't get caught up on being the first person of like helping, right? I was like, me and my team, like, no, no, no. How long have you and how many have you closed? I was like, all right, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is my first one. And they started laughing. Ah, I knew it. I was like, shit, like I didn't do a good job or what? And they're like, no, no, we just kind of had like we had a. I was like, all right, but no, but like we're so happy and grateful that we're your first ones. That's amazing. I was just like, wow. And
Mm.
man, ever since then, it's been a life changing path. I love what I do, and I love that I get to serve people still and serve Him, serve God, because that's something that it's imprinted in my heart because of that. I guess like that pivot point in my life in 2018.
Beautiful. That's so amazing, Juan. I love the whole story. There's this meme that I found, and I always reference this. It's like it says, I prayed to God to give me a cake, but he only gave me the ingredients.
Sure.
I I love that meme, and I always say that and I bring that up because it's so true. It's like a lot of people, I'm very faithful, and I am working on building a really strong relationship with God, and I do pray a lot to God. I just haven't found a good church that I can go to and like commit to, so that's something that I get to work on. But most people they just pray and they're like, "Oh my God, why is this happening to me?" Or, "God, give me this," or "God, please help me." But at the end of the day, it's like, yes, God rewards the people that really are doing the deed, are doing the work, because I believe that we're put on this earth for a reason, and you can walk with God and serve God in a way that everyone's different. We're not going to turn this into a religious interview, but to me, it's like you do your part. You know what I mean? Like you
Mm.
do your part. You be kind, you be a good person, do the work, And it's like a lot of people just want that instant gratification, and they don't really understand that it's about the delayed gratification, because that's what really builds character. And when you're going through things, let's say you started something new, you got into your real estate, and then all of a sudden COVID, you lost your job. Oh my God, you got into a car accident. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that you're
Yeah.
leveling up. The
Yeah.
universe is like, oh, okay, you want to do this now. All right, let's sprinkle some challenge dust on you to see if you're willing to
That,
take the
some more.
challenge for sure.
And it's all about attitude and the energy you give out too, because if you start, beating yourself up, like I'm telling you, I'm so much about that. Like the law of attraction is crazy to me because you start really uh, attracting more into your life. Good things are gonna happen. Like if you think good, you feel good, you do good, like good is gonna happen. Like you just gotta keep that mindset, keep that attitude, and pouring that out. Because I'm saying it works. It works. I tell everyone, it's like, yo, like if you really keep that focus and just knowing that everything you're doing is good and it's having that good feeling, it's naturally going to happen. Like there's no ifs or ups, like ifs or buts about it. Like, but I think sometimes we are so hard on ourselves because we're like, shit, if you think about so much of the wrongdoing, like what could go wrong, and that's where the failure starts because you're thinking about what could go wrong when you're not thinking about what could go right. Like, yes, this is gonna happen, amazing things gonna happen, and man, I've done that so plenty of times in this business, and I'm just keeping it going. I'm like, yeah, when you have that flow, you just got to keep that thing going, going and going and going and going, and not letting anyone, mess that up too, because that plays a huge factor too. Like when you're around people that don't want to see you better, like generally better. I've seen people that in my life, as you grow in life, you're gonna see people differently too. And I tell that to everyone, like, yo, you just gotta be careful who you're around. Really, have people that want to be excited for you. And another thing I learned with Herbalife is that when you start clapping for other people, like it's gonna happen to you. You're generally happy for other people. It's gonna happen for you. And when it's your time, it's gonna be your time. Like enjoy that time.
I agree 100%. And ultimately, what it is that your environment is a byproduct of how you feel inside. And I do want to ask you because, and this correlates with, the difference between self development and being self aware. So like it's interesting how when you mentioned that, your spirit and your mind was just like not there, but you were so invested into the self-development. So why do you think that was happening to you as far as like that mindset come continuing to come up? Like that lack of like was it like a lack of belief in yourself or the limited
Like
beliefs?
at what point? Like you're.
So the into 2018, when you were talking
Mm,
about, yeah, when you were talking about how you were just like not okay spiritually, like mentally, and you were doing the work, you were, you were in personal development, like listening to Jim Ron, which by the way, I listen to him every morning still to this day. So
right.
like Jim, listening to Jim Ron and getting into the personal development realm, and you're doing what you can, like what was basically like stopping you from not really embodying that self-development, if that makes sense?
I would say, like, stopping me, I would say I kept playing the victim role. Like, I felt like
Mm,
I was playing the victim role again. And I think that's a big thing because once you take like ownership and take responsibility, like everything changes too. Because I was trying to blame other things, blame like anything else but myself. And once I understood that it's up to me really to change everything, really the choices. It was not nothing to do with anything, anyone else but me. I was like, I had to take ownership again. But playing that victim role, I think that's what played a huge role of like a wall in my life. Like I was just like, yeah, what I mean, like I was just, and I think a lot of people do that nowadays. It's like you try to blame, be the victim because you want either petty or something from someone else, but life is gonna keep you going, man. I've learned that everyone's life is gonna continue going no matter what, whatever you do. So you really got to own up to your decisions and take ownership of your life. That's where life changes. And that's how I changed that. I was like, you know what? I'm not a victim. I got to really, choose something different, be different, and make different choices in my life.
I agree. Being self-reliant and not pointing the finger on at other people like, oh, you did this or you're doing this, I'm like this
Right.
because of you. And it's just really like looking at yourself in the mirror and asking yourself like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I
Exactly.
doing wrong? Like, what do I got to do to get out of the situation? Yeah, I love that.
Mm.
So let's go into your real estate. Now, explain a little bit more about to the audience, like what you currently do now, because I see you on Instagram and you're like, you're so, you're so successful. Like, I just see like this glow and this like beautiful success with what you're currently doing and like all the relationships that you're building too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Appreciate it. No, all glory to God, but definitely, man, I don't know where to start, but I definitely, well, my main focus with real estate is residential, the luxury market also. And, going into this, it's grown. My brand is my name and also a branding that I started is called the Garay treatment. And it started with one of my friends and clients. After a closing that I did, $1 million closing, I took them on. Well, it was a limousine ride. And then the next $1 million closing was a helicopter ride. But
Wow.
the Garay treatment is not just experience, but I want my clients and my friends to understand is the process from getting them, showing them the houses, doing the transaction to getting them to the closing table. I want them to be at peace and knowing that any questions come up, I'm there for them. That's what the image of and the brand I want people to understand that Garai treatment is. I want that to project. But man, it's been a crazy journey. I'm so grateful. My first year, I was able to close nine houses, and my goal was two. I was like, man, this is COVID. Nobody's gonna buy a house, and it ended up being nine. And then after
Wow.
that, it doubled, and after that, it doubled, and my production and volume has grown. Like last year, I did over 10 million. I can't even say 10 million, 10 million. Um, this year, I surpassed my goal. I have another goal, to accomplish. And it's been a lot of bucket list moments too, with real estate. I don't know. As a kid, I always had a big vision on seeing myself on a bus or a billboard. And this year I was able to get a billboard with my face on there.
I saw
That
that.
was, yeah,
Congratulations. That's
thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. And that's been a bucket list moment, you know. My intentions weren't for someone to call me from the billboard, and that's what to everyone. It was a fact to me. What it meant for me was that I'm growing. You know, I was like, man, for me to get a billboard, I was like, oh, that's, and it's crazy because I took my father to go see it, and then he's like, shit, this is serious stuff you're doing. I was like, oh, it got you for, it got it for me to get a billboard. It got you to really think that I'm doing this seriously. Like, it makes no sense, but like, it's just really like, it brought joy to me because I was like, man, it's pretty cool that I was able to, you know, show my dad, my mom too. I took my mom, and family members, friends, and you know, it was a pretty cool experience to have a billboard. You know, I was able to buy a house too, which the landlord where me and my dad were living was selling the house, and I was able to surprise my dad with the keys to that house. And I told my dad, "That's your house. My house is coming up. I'm not married yet. I don't have kids yet, but I'm working towards that."
So
But real
beautiful.
estate, man, real estate has been incredible, man. My business mindset has grown so much. I understand more about investing. I have a corporation, you know, everything about investments a lot different. The way I move about like investing, about moving things, about you know, it's just I've grown a lot in that sense, and you know, it's been crazy. Real estate has been amazing. Like, and what I can tell anyone that you know, if you're looking towards investing into real estate, I've yet to have anyone. And I'm grateful. I'm knocking on wood or something, but I've yet to have someone call me saying, "Man, I should never have invested into this." Like a lot of my clients have equity. You know, they're happy. They're creating memories in their home, and it's beautiful to watch. I always get pictures of them like remodeling or having family time. You know, or I'll FaceTime them. You know, like out of nowhere, send them gifts and things like that. It's pretty cool. But again, it just goes back. I have a lot of realtors that ask me like, "What is it that you do?" And at the end, it's just you serve people, you're gonna get more in life. Like it's just about that, you know. Give people what they want, you're gonna get more what you want in life. And I feel like a lot of people have it, you know, other way around. Like they want, but they're not really focused on helping the person get what they want, you know. And that's what I feel like that sets me apart when it comes to this industry.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And it's a win-win situation always, you know? And it's like when you actually do the work coming from the heart and you actually care about your clients, it just serves a bigger purpose, you know? It's not about being transactional and like collecting the cash. Like it really is just like pouring your heart out into what you're doing. And people see that. And that is why, honestly, like you're successful because what it seems like is that you really do care about your customers and you build that strong rapport from the beginning and like you just get so much joy from like people buying their first home. Like it's like a beautiful thing. I love that. So what would be your advice for anyone that's getting into real estate? Like what's your best advice for them
First of all,
and
don't
starting?
believe. And sorry, okay. All right. Well, first of all, I say don't believe everything you see on social media. It's not easy. I guess three things. Number one, you don't have time freedom. That's non-existence. I think people get the wrong idea that you have freedom, time, and all that. Number two is that be a student. You know, go ask questions all the time. I feel like in the beginning, a lot of people are scared to ask when in reality you shouldn't be. Even if someone says no, that's or curse at you, whatever you feel like they're gonna say bad or you're just building that up in your mind. You know, it's like no one's gonna say nothing if you ask a question. You know, I don't think I always ask, even if it's a dumb question, ask it no matter what. And number three is have discipline. I think having discipline is a huge thing. I think a lot of people get carried away. Um, that since you have a little freedom, I would say you're not you're not having discipline in your life. Like you won't treat it as a job because it is a job. You know, it is a job. It's your a service that you're providing others. Take it serious. That's another thing too because you're gonna have people that yeah, oh yeah, I know a realtor. You're gonna get laughed at, whatever. Keep it going. You know, I feel like when people get into this when they get their first no or their first like hurdle or challenge, they're like, you know what, this is not for me. And I've gotten so many. I've gotten conversations, bad conversations. I've gotten hundreds of times that clients that have not bought with me, but I've wasted my time, right? And it's fine. It's part of the business. You have to understand that, and that's where that I guess that what was that word they use, gut or
Grit.
that grit. Yeah, it was gut.
Yeah.
That grit that you have to have that grit, in this industry. Because if not, then you're just going to be another number. And this business is oversaturated. So you have to stand out. You have to figure out how you're going to stand out, what value you're going to bring to other people, and why people have to work with you. And that was one of the biggest challenges for me was having people trust me, right? Because yeah, you're my friend in the beginning. Yeah, you're my friend, but do you really trust me into making one of the most biggest transactions in your life with me? And that's where
Mm.
I had to really prove to other people, like, hey, I can do this. So work with me. And that's how a lot of people. I had to go through that challenge, right? And a lot of people are going to go through that challenge too in the beginning. They're not going to believe in you. They're not going to trust you right away, just because they're friends or family, whatever. You have to show that you can do this. You have to bring that value. You have to bring that knowledge and build that trust again, because that person, for example, years ago that was a server, now a real estate, people are like, how can I trust you when you were this before?
I love that. Such beautiful advice. Trusting the process. That's what it comes
Exactly.
down to.
Beautiful
And
process.
Juan, so what is your vision with your brand in real estate? Like, where do you want to take this bad boy in the next 5 years?
Ooh, we'll take it worldwide. Let's go. But definitely, yeah, I want to have a business worldwide. I see myself growing a portfolio, also a team. I'm little by little maybe going into that, growing a team, and just because I get a lot of messages on Instagram and people that ask me questions, and I feel like, you know what, if I can help people grow, and I always tell, I never told anyone not to get into this industry, because I feel like it's for if anyone wants to give it a try, then do it. Who am I to take that away from someone? But going back to my vision is that, yeah, if I can build a team, why not? Um, and just keep growing, man. I feel like there's no limit. I definitely want to continue growing, and eh, there's so much to do, and so little time.
I love it. I love it. Well, Juan, we already met our time, and thank you so much for sharing your story. This is
Of
such a
course,
good
thank you.
conversation. Where can everyone find you?
On Instagram, Mr. Juan Garay, and TikTok, I think it's the same. Yeah, Mr. Juan Garay.
Awesome. All right. And I'll definitely put in the description your Instagram and your TikTok. So, one last question, Juan. So, I love to ask this question just to kind of end the conversation with everyone that I pretty much have here on Inherent Success. So, what does inherent success mean to you?
I would say to me is keeping that kid dreaming alive. And
Ooh, I love that.
I say that because if whatever dream you had as a kid, like if you envision that, just keep it alive, because you generally will have that feeling again, knowing that anything is possible in this world, and you're going to pursue it no matter what. Even if somebody tells you you're crazy, you're going to keep going, because you have that little kid dream in you, and don't let it die. Just keep it going.
Oh, I love that. No one has ever said that. I love that. Thank you so much for
Of
sharing
course, thank
that. That
you.
is such a beautiful way to explain inherent success. Well, once again, Juan, my friend, thank you so much for
Thank
being on
you.
the podcast today. And thank you guys for listening and watching. If you found any value in this video, you can hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for the next episode. Also, like, share with a friend that can also find value in this as well. And stay tuned for the next one.